It's time for my weekly weigh-in. Good morning, Hickory. Will I lose weight? Just wait and see. Hairspray? Anybody? Well, as you know, I've been on my weight loss journey now, or if you don't know, make sure you check out the previous videos. But today, it's time for the weigh-in. And I always get nervous every time, but I've been on track with my nutrition and eating, with my exercise and my movement, and we're going to talk about how I did with my recovery and my sleep this week. So, let's go ahead and hop on the scale. Dun-na, dun-na. Da-na, na, 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 na. There it is. There's the scale. Okay, before we hop on the scale though, I just have to tell you guys, do you know what one scale said to the other scale? Don't worry, I'll wait for you. Okay, also before I weigh myself, I will just recap last week. I was 184.8 last week. So let's see what the scale says for this week. Here we go. Whoa. Oh, also, look at my SpongeBob socks. Aren't they cute? I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. Okay. Yep. There we go. And we'll just step on here and try to show you guys. Hey, 184.6. Wow. Okay, 184.8 last week and 184. Oh, 184.8 last week. And 184.6 this week. Sorry, I'm sleepy and my brain is not mathing right now. But that's 0.2 pounds. That's less than a pound, of course, but that's still in the right direction. So, we'll talk later. Stay tuned for the second half of the video where we'll talk about diet and nutrition, what I was eating this week, my exercise and movement I got this week, and my rest and recovery goals that I've been working on. I'll see you later. And we're back. Welcome back. I just got home from work, and it's time to recap my weigh-in from this morning. Last week, I weighed in at 184.8. And then this morning, I weighed in at 184.6. That's a 0.2 pound loss from last week. And I think that is a success. I know it's only 0.2 pounds, but when you're on a weight loss journey, you are in it for the long haul. And you have to celebrate every small victory along the way, because those little small victories are going to add up to a big victory. So, the 0.2 pounds is a wonderful success for this week. And I started my weight loss journey at 191.8 pounds. So that means I've had a 7.2 pound loss overall. And I can already feel the difference. And it's a great momentum. We're still on track. So let's break down my diet and nutrition for the week. In case this is your first video that you're tuning in, I am on my weight loss journey and this has been week 3. It was my third weigh-in this week. And every week I have stuck to kind of the same formula where I'm eating between 1,100 and 1,200 calories per day, and around 47% of all of those calories are coming from proteins. So I'm doing a low calorie, high protein diet is what I am following. And it's been very successful so far with my 7.2 pound loss. But I want to tell you guys, this week, there were 2 days where I dropped below 1,000 calories. It was pretty close. It was like 990 something calories. But I feel like that's not a good idea. I have done that in the past, and I did not see as much success in times that I dropped below 1,000 calories. Whenever you eat too little, you're not eating enough, I think that your metabolism will actually slow down because your body is like, wait, what are we doing? You're not giving us enough, so we're going to have to hold on to everything that you are giving us. So I am going to make sure that in the coming week, I don't do that again, that I am in that sweet spot, like 1100, 1200, and I'd honestly rather be at the 1200 or a little higher than dropping below 1000 calories. So that is just what works for me, and I'm going to make sure that this week I am falling into that sweet zone of the amount of calories that I'm looking to get. But I want to share with you one of my favorite meals that I ate this week, because the stats on this meal, the macros, were really great. And as we talked about in the past, the macros, I'm looking at calories, I'm looking at fats, carbohydrates, and proteins. Now, my favorite meal I had this week was chicken soup. But let me tell you what the numbers were. So for my chicken soup, I made it myself. But it had 305 calories. It had 6 grams of fat. It had 15 grams of carbohydrates, and it had 46 grams of protein. That's right, 46 grams of protein for that one meal for my chicken soup that I made and took to work with me for lunch. So I'll tell you what I put into my soup. I put in 6 ounces of chicken breast per serving. I put in 2 cups of low sodium chicken broth. I had a half a cup of riced cauliflower medley. So it has rice, cauliflower, and carrots and peas. I put northern beans, because those are going to give you a little bump in the protein from the northern beans. I did a fourth a cup of the northern beans. And I also put just a little bit of celery and onion to kind of add a little extra flavor in there. So, altogether, that was a really good meal with great macros. I highly recommend making that. But the one bad thing that I will say, it was a little too high in the sodium. Even though I used the low sodium chicken broth, it still wound up having, 1,380 milligrams of sodium. That's a lot of sodium. And for heart health, you really don't want to be overdoing it with sodium all the time. So if I was going to make that same recipe again, I would probably do half chicken broth and half water. Honestly, it probably wouldn't be as flavorful, but it's going to be more heart healthy and less sodium. So I think it'll still be a great flavor, but I'll try that the next time and we'll see how it turns out. Okay, so the next thing we'll recap is my movement and exercise for the week. I did meet my 10,000 steps or more goal for every day this week. I was trying to do a new thing where at work, anytime that I had to get up and go to the bathroom, I would actually do a lap more around the office, or I would go downstairs to the floor below and then back up the stairs. So anytime I had to get up to go to the bathroom, I would just do some extra steps during that time to just try to get a little bit more movement into my day. But I did meet my 10,000 step plus goal every day this week. And I got in 4 workouts this week. So I did 4 regular workouts in the gym space with 30 minutes of walk jog and 30 minutes of light lifting with light weights and more repetitions, high reps. So that was a really good week with my movement and exercise. The last thing that I want to recap that we talked about last week is sleep and recovery. I talked about last time how important it is to make sure you're getting enough sleep, and I was not. I was dragging myself through the day. I didn't feel the energy, and I am happy to report that this week I did so much better on my sleep. I did hit my 6-hour minimum sleep goal all but one day this week, because before I was not even hitting 6 hours of sleep every night. Ugh. So this week I did very good with getting my sleep in and helping with my recovery. And 3 of those nights, I actually got much closer to 7 hours. I was like 6 hours and 50 minutes. So I was even approaching on the 7 hours of sleep. And I felt a tremendous difference. It was so much different. I had more energy during the day. I felt a little more energy for my workouts. It honestly did make a difference. So if you're on a journey or if you're just not getting enough sleep, I recommend that you make that a priority, because I personally noticed a big difference this week in my energy level just with getting a little bit extra sleep. And that evening routine I talked about last time, turning off the technology, no doom scrolling, getting into that evening routine. I've been making my nightly cup of tea, things to trigger my brain to say, hey, it's time to wind down now. We have to sleep and we have to recover. So I'm going to continue working on that, because I still would prefer to get that 7 hours of sleep. As we talked about, 7 to 9 hours is what a healthy adult should be getting. But we have to celebrate the little victories. I got more sleep than I have in the weeks past, so I feel really proud, and I'm going to keep going with that goal, trying to rest and recover and get a good amount of sleep. So in the coming week, I'm not going to set any new goals for myself this time. I'm going to continue meeting my current goals, because it's hard. It's really hard, and I want to make sure that I solidify where I'm at before I add anything new. So I'm going to continue with my same calorie goals, making sure that I hit the sweet spot. I'm going to continue with my workout goals, my steps, and I'm going to continue with the same sleep goal that I had previously. And then maybe next week we can add a little something new, kind of change things up and do something different. But I'm happy with my 0.2 pound weight loss this week, and I really appreciate that you guys are tuning in and coming along with me on my weight loss journey. Make sure that you hit the like, and be sure that you subscribe so you don't miss any of my future weigh-in videos. But please let me know if you're on a weight loss journey. Hopefully you found a little bit of community with these videos, a little bit of motivation, you're feeling good on your journey. I would love to hear about that down in the comments. But I'll be excited to see you guys next time. Will I lose weight 4 weeks in a row? You'll have to wait and see, but I'll see you later. Goodbye!